Africa. There's entire countries that do not have an actual credit rating, never mind the individuals. So how do you boldly go where no infrastructure or banking has gone before? Wi-Tricity is wireless electricity. It's also part of this. Use ultra wideband for a mesh network with some drones up in the air, and you have some fixed points, and the vehicles create their own wireless mesh network, internet, electricity throughout the entire place.
Investors could see some of the strongest price action in gold this year, according to Wells Fargo, which sees signs of a developing rally. The driver behind this new spark in prices is diminishing supply growth, and it could take gold to $2,200 an ounce. Gold supplies have flipped from excessive to deficient, and such times in the past have sparked some of gold's strongest price rallies. And many believe we're on the eve of a new commodity bull supercycle, which would only be the 7th since the year 1800. Patriot Gold Group has the no fee for life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no fee for life IRA. So go ahead and give the folks at Patriot Gold Group a call to discuss physical gold and silver, and the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 5 years in a row from 2016 until present. Click the link in the description box below for more information. And now on with the video. And good afternoon. Today I have with me again Tom Ross, Tesnick.com. If you remember, just about 6 months ago, Tom and I had a round of conversation, which was so well received, through the forward thinking of how we might bring our world not only for development in Northern Africa, Central Africa, for the new growth zone moving out in terms of cryptocurrency and on-demand power, because we just won't have the time or the resources, as you see right now with the supply chain lockup across the planet. So the development of Africa to bring that new growing area online as areas such as Russia, Canada, northern parts of the United States, and northern China go offline and have less production coming out due to this grand solar minimum intensifying. Everything's going to have to be rethought, revamped in a very different way to begin and lay out infrastructure that works instantly in a different fashion that we've been used to for the last 70, 80 years. I've had a couple epiphanies, since we chatted last, and thinking about hydrogen and different problems it solves, right laid in with my grand solar minimum. So just a primer on what I've been studying since we talked last. The second magnetic field is truly indeed forming in the outer solar system now. And what that means for you and I is Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are going to form a perfect square in October of 2024. Now that in itself is going to create a slight magnetic toroid field. But if you count the planets inward, like the Sumerians did, and you come in from, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, well, then we got Earth. So from this new toroid magnetic field forming, we're going to be the second planet from that. But then the sun itself stepping down, we're the third planet from the sun's toroid magnetic field. Now, I don't believe anything goes to zero. I think there's a dispersion of electromagnetic forces. So the Earth's going to be stuck in the center, and there's going to be exceptionally large, incredible amounts of, let's say, the top 1 to 2 miles of crustal movement, splits, fissures, cracking. And it goes into John Casey's book called Upheaval, where he talks about when this cycle comes again, he used to work for NASA, that we're going to lose an enormous amount of pipelines, bridges, railroads, and roads themselves. Which brings me right back to the point, in the delivery systems we have today, there's no way to continue the society, even if we get a 10% fracturing of deliverable infrastructure. So the only way moving forward, from at least in my point of view now, since I can absolutely, I'm going to say 99% say that this magnetic field is forming and intensifying. This is the reason for the upticks in volcanoes and earthquakes, et cetera. It's going to get way more intense come July, because we're going to cross another magnetic stepping point in July. But the only way to move forward is created on site. And that's either electrogravitics, which I'm so into the torsion spin of things, and electromagnetism and free weightless objects and that sort of thing, creating power from opposing spinning disks, or we're going to do it through hydrogen. There's really no other way that I can see it moving forward in any way, shape, or form that our society can hold it together except on demand production of energy to keep our lives moving. And that's it. There's no there's A or B choice in doing that, electrogravitics or hydrogen, but I just can't see it moving in any other fashion. And that's why I wanted to frame today's conversation and get a catch up on, since we've spoken last, what's been moving forward in terms of manifestation for your projects. We talked on ideas that could be forthcoming. And then, I've heard there's been a lot of movement. I'd like to get an update on that.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me back on. I really appreciate you and your listeners and all the help, because a lot of them help to connect us a lot of dots. The India guys, they're building a bike for India with a hydrogen put in it so that you can plug it in, plug your house into the vehicle to be able to reduce your energy cost by 80%. That makes the payments for the vehicle. It just sits there and idles, and it's absolutely 100% clean energy. That's why we're in Costa Rica, because their brand is all about clean energy and biodiverse and tourism and stuff. That's why we're here, because we're out in some small towns out here where things are not locked down. It's alive. People are doing things where the rest of the world is on pause right now. The majority of the world's on pause. So we can do stuff down here. Now, recently we've had challenges with stuff just like everybody else has, with not being able to get stuff. When you do, it may not be what you expected. Thirds, fourths, fifths, recalls are huge because people took a bunch of stuff off the shelf just to fulfill stuff. Things are really, really up in the air. The balls are really up in the air right now. So it takes longer, costs more. What you get, chipsets not being available, entire truck and car lines not sitting still, many things happening sitting still all over the world. You still, it's worse than last year trying to get a bicycle or a motorcycle, because a lot of things fell off the wagon. People haven't woken up to this yet, like you say, with food and everything. So what do? We prepared for this a long time ago. You can go on YouTube and find out how to turn a car alternator, a used one or broken one, into an electric motor that will drive your motorcycle and your bicycle. Wow. Then you can take used batteries from battery operated power tools, old laptops, and you can take those and repurpose them and recycle them to bring them back to almost new. There's technology out there to do that, put them back together, and now you have an electric vehicle. There's bamboo and hemp bicycles and motorcycles. We're working with a guy out of California that's famous for that and has made in India and Africa rickshaws and e-bikes and motorcycles out of hemp and bamboo. And they export them all over the world, and they have electric motors on them. This is real stuff. It's happening already. There's indigenous people buying back their land right now with money they're making and repatriating their own land that they're buying back because it's wholly owned by indigenous people. It's becoming a reserve. So the reserves are getting bigger and bigger. You should be looking towards a reserve, because that's where everything's going to happen worldwide. It'll be cryptocurrency. The banking of the world's going to happen from there. Hemp's going to happen from there. Hydrogen's going to happen from there. And there's the empathy from indigenous people, from a youth for all over the world for indigenous people is incredible. So that's where we are today. Launching a cryptocurrency that's hemp, hydrogen, cryptocurrency, indigenous reserve, school. That's what we're doing down here right now at Chiripo, which is eternal waters. That's what the indigenous call it, the translation, right next to Good Air, Costa Rica, Buenos Aires. The Wright brothers, not the wrong brothers, were out in a field. And they didn't have pinky rings. They weren't engineers. They didn't have a lot of money. Mr. Benz, who invented and patented the car, was a bicycle shop. Harley Davidson, bicycle shop. The reason we're doing motorcycles and e-bikes is because it's 5x what cars are, and they give 100% more emissions. And you can get them to the market much faster and more relevant to the market. Cars plateaued about 4 years ago and are going down in numbers. So that's where we are today.
So if I was going to ask you, then what do you want people to do? We've had a decent conversation here about a few things moving forward, and I'll ask you a couple more questions after this. But, what would you like people to do to reach out to you and contact? I mean, if I wanted to talk to you and said, Tom, you're super interesting, and I heard a lot of valid points and some things where our companies are working on as well. What's the ask that if they were going to contact you? I mean, what do you want people to reach out to you about?
So look at Akon and his cryptocurrency in Africa and what he's doing over there in Senegal and building, with solar panels and stuff that he's doing over there to be able to make a better world. So it's the same type of format. The reason we're doing it is one main reason: Africa. There's entire countries that do not have an actual credit rating, never mind the individuals. So how do you get, boldly go where no infrastructure or banking has gone before? You want to go where you don't have to displace any business models or business partners and, bump uglies type stuff, and, bend noses, right? We want to go to like 1.8 billion people in Africa and other places like that so that this gets critical mass very quickly. But we need to turn it into a service, not a product, because we don't have the capital in order to be able to create this infrastructure in a box with hydrogen, hemp, and cryptocurrency over there. And then that will give us the numbers where the rest of the world has to do it, because economically they won't be able to compete in the global market. And that's what the super funding is for. The super funding is to be able to get the capital in place to be able to put all the infrastructure in place in Africa so people can have electricity for 3 cents a kilowatt hour that's decentralized. We also have a chipset that is open source through Luke and Luke Layton. And he actually has a chipset, so you don't have to have backdoor issues, that people keep talking about on the internet. And you decentralize it. So it's Wi-Tricity is wireless electricity. It's also part of this. Use ultra wideband for a mesh network with some drones up in the air. And you have some fixed points, and the vehicles create their own wireless mesh network, internet, electricity throughout the entire place. There's no big bunny switch that anybody can do. Nobody can just turn off your internet and turn off your electricity and say, hey, do what I tell you to do. That's now over because of open sourcing this technology. Okay, everybody has access to decentralized power, communications, transportation, and then we come to food. 50% of your food costs is the transportation. It's the oil, the petrol dollar that, that made that stuff what it is to get to where you are. So we're doing farm to fork. What that means is to be able to make it so that there's a huge farmer's market here and there's 200,000 people in San Isidro, but you found out you just came to the market and spent your day doing all that. And then guess what? You were buying an apple from 3 farms over. How come you didn't know that? How come it had to go all that extra mileage? It doesn't make any sense. So why don't you just connect people and make it on demand? Now, if you look at Taiwan with Gogoro has made it so you could battery swap, and they got 90% of the scooter market down there where you buy it for $500 to $1,000 and $35 a month to be able to have unlimited battery swaps for your vehicle. Now, before COVID, they actually could get a meal down there for less than the cost of the ingredients. Now think about that. You have to go there, you have a vehicle, you got fuel, you got your time, you go to the store, you leave, you come back, you have a kitchen, all the overhead and your time and everything to do that, and the electricity or the gas or whatever it was that cooked it, and the fridge and the freezer and all that. But before COVID, because it's much more cost effective to have these ghost kitchens, which it's become mainstream since we've talked about this last time. So being able to make sure that you could have these vehicles, like Carla Cargo in New York City with Whole Foods, with Amazon, Prime Fresh, with Jeff Bezos and Amazon. They're using the bike lanes. That's 1/10 the cost for an electric bike with 500 pounds with Carla Cargo trailer in the back. It's also electrified like a fifth wheel to bring you everything that you need, your products, your services, whatever you need, and people with rickshaw type stuff in the bike lane. That's where the world's going right now, is it's getting rid of all the layers. We're also working with Feed It Forward in Toronto, Canada. They have an app and they're a nonprofit, being able to take food that normally wouldn't make it to people's dinner table for people that normally couldn't get the food, and making that happen. So Feed It Forward. So if you're conscious and you understand this, and there's an alternative, because people don't go from something to nothing. They don't go from something to less. They don't go from something same to same. Human behavior is, I want an upgrade. So what we're talking about here with everything we're doing down here is to be able to make sure that you have an upgrade. You can have your internet, you can travel the world, and you can clean the environment the more you travel and the more you consume, because it takes in, this system takes in the outside atmosphere and the water, and it purifies the air and the water and puts out oxygen. It reverses the effects, right? So whether the planet is cooling or heating and changing climate change, I don't care. At the end of the day, I want clean air, clean food, clean water, because people with bad health make bad decisions. And that's where we are today. Ill people making ill decisions because you're chemically based that creates electricity, right, throughout your body. And the neurons are not firing properly because you're not getting the proper nutrition.
Yeah, that'd be it. Because, my new study, I've been like solidly 6 months trying to come to revelations of, when is this field intensity going to start to really manifest and show signs? I've been calling sand volcanoes, and then suddenly there's a few sand volcanoes coming up. And that's a wild call to talk about sand volcanoes emerging out of nowhere. And then suddenly there's sand volcanoes. So there's some premise to at least the study I did on the ancient side and the new, more modern physics. toroidal fields is where you got to look, because we're electromagnetic frequency carriers ourselves. So when the sun will step down, there's got to be conduits of our consciousness and brain that open up. And a second magnetic field forming out in the solar system, perhaps that's the balance that brings and retunes and resets back to the base frequency. Because you got to think about it. If all the magnetic looping coming into your brain and on our planet is only from one side, from the sun, well, we would get attuned to, let's say, completely to the right side, for a better term. But then what happens when a second magnetic field forms out? That magnetic distribution is then perfectly balanced between left and right. Because it seems there's a lot of people having very different thoughts in the way they process information and life around them at the moment. Absolutely. That I just never would have expected from so many people that I am in contact with ever.
The world is, it's a strange place. It's a very, very strange place. But
I'm thankful to be alive right now to experience all the weirdness,
So all these solutions are out there. You just got to talk to the community and bring them out and make sure that they're available to people in a way that they can understand them and implement them. And now, because we have analytics is worth more than oil. Analytics is the new oil. There's more money made from analytics than anything else. Now that analytics is the new revenue stream and Google and everything else, What Would Google Do is a great book. These are all the things that'll tell you how we've shifted from a planned obsolescence and manufactured consent to a service-based model where uptime and things lasting is very, very important. So the business model has shifted to allow this to happen. This huge, huge shift to hydrogen. So that's why we're very happy to be able to just come out and say, hey, we have a business model that is the most successful in the world and proven. It's called analytics. Whatever you focus on, you become. There's cause and effect. Everybody's focused on the effect. Focus on the cause. If you want to relocate somewhere in the world, this place only has 4 seasons of growth and 7 different distinct climates. It has the best fiber in the world. The reason online gambling was so huge here and banking is going to be monstrous in Costa Rica is that they have 2 fiber rings that go on both sides of Costa Rica, and they have spokes that go out to all over the world. So you don't have to go across somebody else's jurisdiction to get to somebody else. So what happens is that you have the best physical internet in the world. You also have Starlink and all these satellites up above your head, creating internet where they can actually do internet 40% faster in a vacuum with lasers between them than you can with terrestrial fiber optics, which is going to make fiber optics and the towers and everything else obsolete. It's happening right now above our heads with Elon, and there's 4 other competitors. Internet's going to become free. Everything's going to zero. Analytics is what they want. And you're getting in the way of getting the analytics by putting a billing system in place. That's where the world is going. It's here. You have real stuff to be able to upgrade your society and live in harmony with nature in a way that more people can live on this planet than we have today.
And you forgot Ponce de Leon and the Fountain of Youth mixed in with the cherry on top of the findings. Yeah, this farm to fork and on-demand food is definitely going to be a parallel avenue moving forward with everything else, because you got to have food for the society to function. No functioning society equals lack of food, or vice versa. So I like the idea of putting on-demand food into this infrastructure as well.
Well, when a guy named Bill Gates, when he buys up all your farmland to make sure that you can't get access to meat anymore, and he's going to put stuff in a petri dish and do some experiments, you should be concerned. You should be concerned about how your food produced and where it comes from and how local it is. That's definitely going to drive people to make sure they get local food.
Well, we should be outright offended, yet nobody wants to ask these simple questions because A, you're limited on what your reach will be further out into the internet if you ask such questions. And then B, the woke masses will try to stop you from asking such simple questions.
Yep. And some people out there already are probably going to ask questions about alternators and used batteries. How would that work? Our office is directly across from the largest automotive parts manufacturer and research and development in the world, called Magna. And the guy that created this big monster, and Frank Stronach, and he literally cashed out of his own company because it became public and became a monster that, almost ate him. But now they're back and they've got a 3-wheeled electric vehicle and they're setting up shop 4 doors down from us with a 60,000 square foot thing. Saunders did the electric bike, biggest crowdsourced biking event that bypassed all the other guys and made an affordable electric bike for everybody. He's got a beautiful 3-wheel electric car for 3 people. That's absolutely amazing. There's Electromechanica Solo that's in Canada. Over $4 billion in pre-orders for a 3-wheeled vehicle called the Solo that you can go back and forth. It goes 100 kilometers and you plug it in, it's electric. It's like a motorcycle license type deal. Those are the people we're looking for. Saunders, Electromechanica Solo, if you're working for those companies, we have a hydrogen drive for you that differentiates you like crazy. People don't have to worry about range anxiety, don't have to worry about plugging it in, finding a place to plug it in. You can literally add power to the grid and provide a solution for electricity. That's the big thing with electric vehicles. The electrical grids today, on my personal street back in Canada, guess what the problem is? We got a bunch of people that have the means to be able to get fast chargers at their houses, and it blows up the transformer. And none of them can actually rapid charge simultaneously, and there's no way to actually manage that process. That's a first world problem. Go to India, go to Costa Rica, go anywhere. Down here with my vehicles, I have to take extra batteries with me because there could be 2 days or 3 days with no electricity. So how is that a fuel? It's not a fuel. You don't have access. The rest, you can make as many electric cars as you want, and forget about how long it takes to charge and the whole thing. Is it clean? Is it coming from a coal farm? The electrical grids today cannot support what they have for a demand and do not have the intelligence to be able to differentiate between these things, to be able to have a smart grid, to be able to hang these things off of. It just doesn't exist. You can make as many electric cars as you want. There's no fuel for it. It's a fallacy. You come down here, electricity is 42 cents a kilowatt hour. These people
What?
Yep. 42 cents a kilowatt hour, and it ratchets up, okay? You pay electricity bill if you're a small restaurant or a convenience store here, and it's more than your mortgage and everything else combined. That's what the reality is here right now. So that's the magic. The rest of the world doesn't have cheap electricity. You got to go where people need this stuff. That's why we're doing the pilot in Costa Rica.
Yeah, let me ask you a question about the smaller vehicles. I'm thinking about dovetailing in on a smaller hydrogen system for farms that are 20 acres or under. Because I'm running into the same thing, looking at Kubota tractors and trying to get financing on a $30,000 piece of equipment that's running on diesel. And then the diesel prices are going up. For simple farm work, for people who are going to be coming into the more self-sufficient lifestyle versus the commercial ag that's running, tractors on 10,000 acres.
Well, type into Google, Earth University, Costa Rica.
I don't use Google, I use DuckDuckGo.
Type into DuckDuckGo, Earth University, Costa Rica. They partnered with Cummins Diesel for your tractor to show you how you as a farmer can make your own diesel from biomass so they could expand their market to boldly sell tractors where they never could sell tractors before. Already there, ready for you on a platter, ready to go.
Wow, that is nice. I'll even make sure I polish the platter before I return it to you. No fingerprints on it.
Well, there's also a guy named Rich Rebuilds that has become famous. He's in Massachusetts, next to MIT and stuff, and he does IT support. He bought used Teslas and tried to fix them and got blackballed for rapid charging and all these issues. Go take a look at his channel, Rich Rebuilds on YouTube. It's absolutely hilarious. To make it really short, as a little appetizer, if you haven't heard about this, Rich Rebuilds ended up on Joe Rogan. And then for the last hour of the 3 hours, he actually turned the table and started interviewing Joe Rogan. That's how charismatic and crazy this guy. And even Joe went, hey, wait, I'm the one that does the interviewing here. He went, yeah, you're right. And 2 minutes later, he asked, but I'm interested. And he just started interviewing Joe Rogan, which I've never seen anybody do. He's incredible. So he has a YouTube videos that show that, hey, I bought some Tesla, tried to fix them. They wouldn't let me do that. Some guys came that worked for Tesla. We now get 12 shops where we fix and repair Teslas and other cars and convert them. That's great. And then he shows his trials and tribulations and he became a kind of a Tesla fan, but kind of beat up for it. And then he went, look, now I'm buying stock. I bought stock. I'm a stockholder, okay? I'm listening to the AGM. I bought a new Tesla. They still screwed him around hard. It's an incredible story. How ridiculous they treated him. He decided, look, people listening to this, I'm on Joe Rogan. So he got the benefit of being a referral program for Tesla and got $200,000. He accumulated $200,000. And one day they went, oh, there's a technical glitch. Yeah. Then later they went, we don't believe that your channel's in the spirit of our program. So they took the $200,000 away from him. So that's when he lost the plot. Okay. That was it. He's like, that's it. He gave all the Tesla stuff away for free, said, forget all you Tesla fans. It's a cult. You never own the thing. It's just a really big deposit. This guy's just a stock play. What the hell's going on? He did it in a very nice way. And then he bought a big, giant diesel pickup truck and said, to be American, own one of these. He's like, now I'm American. I own a big diesel 4x4. This is amazing. An apple pie. You're not going to believe this. You're going to have to go to his channel and see this, because he said it as a joke and now he's doing it. You're not going to believe this. He, as a joke, said, I'm going to phone Elon Musk, but it's not going to be me. It's going to be somebody else, and Tesla, and say, look, I'll try it one more time. Maybe he's changed his ways. And they got some used Teslas. And guess what? They said, can we get some parts to fix this thing? They said, no way. He's like, okay. So he phoned GM. GM went, yes way. So GM sent him an LS motor, and he's torn apart and halfway through a Tesla as a sleeper with a V8 motor sitting in the front of it, rear wheel drive, with all the wiring intact, with everything looking exactly like a Tesla, doing wire discovery, all the painful stuff. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And he's literally making the Tesla computer work for all the instrumentation, everything. So if you looked in, you would not know. What you have to do to convert a Tesla to a gasoline vehicle is absolutely ludicrous. So we said, how would you like to be the David and Goliath here? Okay, we'll give you the rock and the slingshot. It's called hydrogen and a linear generator. And we're going to put it in your hand, and you're going to put it on your vehicle, and you're going to show how you converted actual Tesla to a combustion engine and hydrogen that costs less and outperforms and better for the environment than an original Tesla. How do you like them apples? That's entertainment. And we're talking to them. If you want to influence an organization, you influence their customers, i.e., you eat their lunch.
Nice. And all of you out there awaiting that episode, whoa, put the time clocks on. We'll give you the time to sound the alarm. The future has been born. Well, Tom, I appreciate you joining me here for the last hour. I know you're getting busy, a few things going on in the background there. So how should people reach out to you if they want to connect to you directly?
Contact us at tesnic.com. That's the best way to talk. An endless sphere if you're into the technology side of stuff.